Welcome to the Village of Cottage Grove Joint Review Board Annual Meeting on Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. This is a hybrid meeting occurring both virtually and in person at Village Hall. The Zoom link is at the top of the agenda. It is 4:31, so I'll call the meeting to order. Our second piece of business is appointments as needed. This would be to assign a public member to the committee, which has been assigned, and then also to designate a chairperson for today's meeting. So we would need a motion to appoint a chairperson. I'll make a motion to appoint.
I was just going to make the same motion.
All right, motion seconded. I'll remain as chairperson. Lisa, you got it? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We have discussed and considered the minutes from the Joint Review Board meeting on October 5th, 2023 and October 3rd, 2024. Both of those meeting minutes are linked as PDFs in the agenda. So we need a motion to approve the meeting minutes if there are no changes.
I'll motion for that.
I'll second. This is Lori.
Got that? All right. Any discussion on that? Otherwise, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll abstain. All right, motion carries. So moving on to number 4, a review of the reports, performance and status of the village's active TIDs. And I'll turn it over to Greg for a review on those documents.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Greg Johnson from Ellers. We prepared the reports that we'll present this afternoon that were distributed as part of your packet. Before we go through the financial updates in each of the TID districts, just wanted to kind of provide this map that kind of provides an orientation to where each of these TID districts is located. So TID district number 5 is kind of Commerce Park, the business park, just south of I-94, so depicted here in orange. TID 6, kind of south here of Cottage Grove Road, which is County Trunk Highway BB, kind of in orange. And then TID number 9 overlaid a significant portion of TID district number 6 several years ago. So that's just to the north of that area. Then TID district 8 is kind of farther west on Cottage Grove Road. And then TID 10 up to the north of I-94. TID 7 closed a couple of years ago, so that's why that's not depicted on the map. So with that as background, we'll go through kind of each of the reports and just give a status update. So for TID district number 5, this TID district was created back in 2003. The maximum life of this district ends next year, but it can collect increment if needed in 2027. The current incremental value of this district as of January 1st of this year is approximately $257,307,000. The fund balance at the end of 2024 was approximately $909,600. By all accounts, this TID district is going to close in 2026. That is the final year of increment collection, and the fund balance in the district should be sufficient to pay off all remaining obligations outstanding. So just for some background information, this just shows the portion of this TID district. The majority is in Monona Grove School District, a portion's in the Sun Prairie School District. This is just some historical data that shows how much incremental value has been generated in this district, going back to construction year 2018 all the way through construction that occurred last year in 2024. And then, that increment for the Monona Grove portion, which is the bulk of the increment generated by this district, just show a couple years worth of history, and then the projected tax increment to be collected in 2026, which should be sufficient to pay off remaining obligations. And then there's a portion of the increment from this district that's generated in Sun Prairie. So we show a couple years worth of history and the projected amount for 2026. So in terms of the cash flow projection for this particular district, just to kind of work our way across here. So we've got the total tax increment from both school districts coming in. There's some other miscellaneous revenues that the district typically collects, as well as intergovernmental revenue, which increased in 2025 due to the personal property aid payments that began this year. There's existing debt service that's outstanding, so we show the gross principal and interest. The village just has some ongoing administrative and professional services costs, and really the bulk of the expenditures left in this district outside of debt are, development incentives, which the village has paid off the majority of those development incentives up through this year. So those were pay-as-you-go development incentives, meaning that increment generated from particular projects was pledged to pay a development incentive. So with 2026 increment collection, that's an estimated amount. The remaining debt service payments and remaining developer incentive payments outstanding, that fund balance is, projected to be well in excess of the remaining debt and incentives that need to be paid off. So increment will be collected in 2026. That will be the final year of increment collection. Once all final expenses are tabulated and paid off, the village is required to complete a final audit, and then excess funds would be distributed proportionally to all the taxing jurisdictions. So that's the overview of TID 5. I'll pause here and see if there's any additional comments or questions.
Greg, just a overall comment. I'm anticipating the payments for the surplus is to go out approximately at the end of September.
Okay. There's no other questions or comments on TID 5. We'll move ahead next to TID district number 6. So this was a mixed use district that was created back in 2004. Last year, this board approved an extension for TID district number 6 for a total of 6 additional years of increment collection. The final year of increment collection will be 2031. The incremental value in this district as of January 1st of this year was approximately $3,154,000. The fund balance at the end of 2024 was zero. We do anticipate this district will remain open for its full maximum life. So this again just shows some history in terms of the amount of incremental value that's been generated in this district over the past several years. In our financial analysis, we're just holding that incremental value flat for purposes of our projections. So here's kind of the tax increment, and then we show the 6-year extension that was granted by the Joint Review Board. So estimates on the remaining tax increment to be collected through this particular district. So this district, when it was during its life, there was some infrastructure improvements that were funded many years ago that were TID 6 eligible expenses, but the increment in the district wasn't sufficient to cover those costs. So the village has been levying and advancing funds to kind of cover some of the debt service annually. So a portion of that has been forgiven. Some of it, can be repaid over time in terms of the advances. But again, really this district is going to remain open until 2031 to just kind of recover as much of that investment as possible. Really don't see that changing over the life of this district. So really not much change from what was presented a year ago with that extension that was approved. Any questions or comments on TID 6? All right, moving on to TID district number 8. So these are some of the newer districts within the village. So this district was created back in 2018. It has an expenditure period that ends in 2033. The final year of increment collection for this district is in 2039. The incremental value as of the beginning of this year was approximately $5,055,000. There was a deficit fund balance at the end of 2024 of about $66,118. The projected closure based on this cash flow is going to be in 2039. The village has awarded some developer incentives for development projects within this district, $450,000 for foundations dance and $500,000 for new tech painting. The village is also contemplating some utility infrastructure projects here in the near term that we've just modeled for illustration purposes in the cash flow projection. So here in the actual column, this is the incremental value that's been generated since this district was created. There is some anticipated residential development that's expected to occur within the district constructed in 2026 and 2027. That's estimated to have an incremental value of 8 million. So with that actual incremental value that's been generated, that additional 8 million that's projected, this kind of shows the increment projection over the full 20-year life of the district. So in terms of the cash flow projection for this district, we have the tax increment that's coming in. Here under the expenditures, the new tech incentive, the foundation's dance incentive, those are estimated payments, but are incentives that have been awarded. And then, as I mentioned, the village is contemplating financing some utility infrastructure improvements. That's kind of an estimated amount that's anticipated to occur in 2026. So, the existing incremental value plus the value that's being generated from the residential development can support that utility infrastructure investment. At this time, projecting the district would remain open until 2039. I'll pause here for any questions or comments on to date. Next is TID district number 9. This district was also created in 2018. Its final year of increment collection is 2039 as well. It's a mixed-use district with a maximum life of 20 years. The incremental value in this district is about 55 million. And then we have the year-end fund balance at the end of 2024 of almost 5.4 million. So as we'll note in the cash flow analysis, the 2024 fund balance based on the village's audited financial statements includes a $4.9 million asset, which is land that's held for resale. So I'll speak to that more in a moment, but that's just something worth noting in terms of that overall fund balance. It does include land as an asset, so not a liquid asset per se. So the development assumptions here, we're just kind of holding the incremental value flat. There is some property that's anticipated to be removed as far as, no longer being taxable property. So that's some estimated decrement to occur within the coming year. But again, this district has, projected to have about 54.3 million once that decrement is factored in of value. So with that value kind of forecasted over the 20-year life of the district, this is kind of the revenue stream that's available to kind of pay for project costs within this TID district. So in terms of the cash flow projection here, we have the tax increment coming in, the intergovernmental aids, and then there is some existing debt service that's outstanding for this district. That's related to debt that was issued to finance land for development within the district. That financing occurred in 2024. So in terms of, repaying that debt service and just kind of paying some ongoing costs associated with the district, we've just shown our analysis kind of, it shows up as an expense, but this is really kind of a balance sheet adjustment to kind of back out that $4.9 million. So we're not kind of overinflating the fund balance, the liquid portion of the fund balance. So, that's not literally a $4.9 million expense. It's really to kind of a balance sheet adjustment to kind of reduce the fund balance to what's more appropriate to kind of repay debt service and costs. So if the existing incremental value holds and just this debt really needs to be retired, based off of just existing costs incurred, this district would be positioned to close in 2031. Certainly if other development opportunities materialize or project costs are necessary, the village may choose to undertake those, but this is where the district stands today. Any questions or comments on TID 9?
Greg, just to provide a village update. So that corner, obviously we wouldn't buy land and to redevelop and not do anything. So as Greg mentioned, it is anticipated that there will be additional development costs, but again, the increment will be brought back more increment will be created than what will be destroyed, essentially. So looking at kind of mixed use kind of hybrid option on that corner development.
Okay, last but not least is TID District number 10. This is north of I-94. This district lies solely within the Sun Prairie School District. So this is a mixed use district as well. Final year of increment collection is 2039. The incremental value in this district as of January 1st of this year was almost 39.8 million. The fund balance at the end of 2024, modest deficit of 5,370. Based on the current cash flow projection, the district's projected to close in 2036. So here we show the actual incremental value that's been generated since the district was created. As anyone's aware, that's kind of driven by this site. The Amazon facility is under construction. So we're estimating conservatively the incremental value for that facility will be 285 million. So we're showing that, construction started this year, anticipated to continue into next year and, potentially wrap up in 2027. This remains fluid in terms of how quickly this gets built out, but it certainly, got off to a pretty aggressive start this calendar year in terms of generating estimated incremental value. So that's really the new value that we're projecting. We did kind of factor in kind of some appreciation here, just given the size of that facility. And so we're showing about 3% appreciation. So this is the revenue stream that is available to kind of repay costs within that district. So a lot of the costs within this district haven't really been incurred yet. It's still kind of subject to that incremental value getting generated over time. So there's anticipated development incentives related to Amazon, which are capped at 48 million. So that's a pay-go incentive, so that'll be paid out annually as increment is generated. There's a development incentive that's kind of what we call the secondary incentive, which was to Gray Wolf, which was kind of involved in some of the initial assembly of land and other factors related to the Amazon project. So their incentive is capped out at 2.5 million, and then just kind of some ongoing costs within the cash flow. So, based off of that, those valuation assumptions, these costs would be satisfied by 2036. This remains fluid. We'll obviously get more data on this each year as the Amazon particularly gets built out, but certainly well on its way in terms of generating that incremental value. So again, really all the incentives and costs here are pay as you go, paid out from the increment that's generated. The village hasn't issued any debt or financed any infrastructure costs up front in this district. So that's the overview of TID 10. I'll pause for any questions or comments. Otherwise, that kind of concludes my overview.
All right. If there are no questions or comments for Greg, Cameron, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
Nope. Other than the village board, the first meeting in April, there will be a recommendation for a formal termination resolution before the DOR deadline, and then wrapping up the expenses, filing a report early September, and payments end of September.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, otherwise we'll move on to approving the resolutions acknowledging the filing of the reports and compliance. So there are two resolutions linked in the agenda, one for MGSD and one for Sun Prairie. And correct me if I'm wrong, so the motion second and then the voting should be for your respective school district if you're a school district representative. Okay, got that right. So we need a motion. I guess I'll make a motion to approve resolution acknowledging filing of annual reports in compliance with annual meeting requirements for the Monona Grove School District.
I'll second. Adam?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right. I'll also make a motion to approve the resolution acknowledging filing of annual reports in compliance with the annual meeting requirement for the Sun Prairie School District.
I'll second. Sorry, Laura. Lori.
You're good.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Final act for tonight for this meeting is to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion, a second, non-debatable. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.